Every time the advertisement comes up for my competitor in insurance, my buddies give me a hard time. We're involved in a different advertising style directly to mobile devices. For an advertising standpoint, you can be gender specific. There's all kinds of cool things that we can do with these billboards. They're digital.
Hey guys, before we begin the podcast, I just have a super simple ask for you. If you'd hit the subscribe button or follow, whatever it is on your platform, it helps me more than you can know. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button, follow, and let's get right in. So, Brandon, you do digital billboards. Talk to me. What are they and what are their primary uses?
Yeah, thanks for having me on to discuss this, Andrew. So our digital billboards are indoor primarily. We do have some outdoor solutions, but this isn't your typical, when you hear the word billboard, it's not your typical driving by on the highway. These are really, they're strategically placed digital billboards within, very like the busiest, public places like restaurants or gyms. There's a trampoline park, to be real specific, just places where a lot of people go. My favorite venues are actually restaurants because they're open many, many hours throughout the day. And they have just a really big mix, a wide variety of people coming through their doors. So yeah, we do indoor digital billboards and we sell advertising space on them. So in that regard, they're just like the highway billboards. There's a huge difference though in how these interact with the audience. These are much more. The term is dwell time. How long is your audience in front of your advertisement? Right, on the highway, you've got a few seconds, right? If you're looking at for the billboard. Our indoor advertising solutions, these are extremely captive. And in fact, most of these billboards are located in the restroom of these public facilities, of these places, right? It's a completely captive audience. Quote the Boston Globe saying that, this style of advertising is the only place in the world where people will wait in line to read advertising. So we've found over time, by locating some of these billboards in common areas, maybe above an ATM machine or by a music player that's in a restaurant bar type of a situation, those aren't nearly as effective. So the restroom ones are our go-to. Those are the ones that our customers enjoy the most, and frankly, the ones that we believe in the most. So
I find it so funny. The urinal ones are so funny, especially the fact that you have it on your website.
Yeah.
I love that, because what are you going to do? Stop peeing?
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck here. You don't have a choice.
In a way, we force people to see the ads, because, in the men's room, nobody looks to the side. They just look straight ahead. In the ladies' room, we put the boards, and by the way, most of them are. It's like a large computer screen. It's about 22-inch, computer screen basically. That's mounted flush to the wall. It's a really nice, stylish case and everything. In the ladies' restroom, we put them by the vanity, so hand dryer or sink or whatever, thinking and assuming and confirming that we're going to catch their attention in that space for a little while.
With that, would you say that you do better for men's based products? Because I'm assuming you can put up more billboards, if you will, in the men's restroom than you would be able to in the girls' restroom.
Not really. It's 50-50. I mean, if you think about the places that you dine out, we'll use restaurants as kind of our go-to venue. Most places have one or two urinals. In the women's restroom, there's at least two hand dryers, or there's at least two sinks in most cases, or there's walls or space to put one or two. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's probably an exception to that. But we do find that the advertisements are reaching both genders, which brings up a great point about them. For an advertising standpoint, you can be gender specific. There's all kinds of cool things that we can do with these billboards. They're digital, right? So we control them remotely, and we can create different ads for men, create different ads for women, and we can get into how they work and why they're so effective, and all that kind of stuff if you'd like to.
Okay, I'm kind of curious. How do you, like you said, you can target the genders? Are there any other key targeters other than location that you can do? Because it's clear that you can target based on location, or at least I'm assuming. But What other different ways can you segment the market?
Um, well, that's an interesting question. So, are you're speaking directly at like, okay, how do we target like an ideal client or customer kind of a thing?
Yeah, exactly.
So, right. So we make some pretty, I would say, pretty accurate assumptions about the, I'd say, the majority of the patrons that visit these places, and we've hand selected the restaurants specifically. They get a benefit from hosting our billboards, so we can just kind of say, hey, this doesn't cost you anything. So we've created this list in our network. We think is a really good mix of blue collar, white collar, some different ethnic restaurants. So we can go a little bit farther than just like, oh, hey, let's advertise at the Texas Roadhouse or whatever. So we make some assumptions. We've got some. The more expensive restaurants, we assume that those patrons have a little bit more discretionary income, right? So maybe our higher end clients or more expensive type of products and services that they sell, they prefer to be in those expensive restaurants, and in kind of the middle grade, they prefer to be in different venues. So and we do have the ability to separate them. Each billboard has its own content, and we can schedule them to rotate around to different locations throughout a time period, or stay in one spot.
Curious about this. So you said you can kind of based off of restaurants, right? So it's kind of based on locational, but inside of the locations, you have different target markets. Do you ever like poll at all to kind of figure out who's like, let's say you're targeting based on income, right? You can kind of guess based on the restaurant, but do you ever poll to try and figure out which is the best? Because you can do that with like census data, right? You can kind of guess which areas are going to have higher income, which areas are going to have lower income. But do you ever do that for a restaurant specific
No,
poll there
I
or
guess
no?
I no, not in like a digital, collecting information way. I would say it's more anecdotally, by speaking with the advertisers and the feedback they get from their customers, asking them, where did you see us or hear from us, that kind of thing.
Okay, interesting. I know coming from someone who's like taking data analytics right now, a lot of what they want to do is they want to pull, they want to figure out what's like where everyone goes and kind of like really segment the market as much as humanly possible. And then just keep going layer. But I feel like that'd be weird at a restaurant. Like imagine walking in and on your receipt it's like, "So what's your income? Where are you from?" Like that would just be that would be like on the kids menu. They should put that on the kids menu. There you go. There's an idea for you. Kids menu. Figure out where they're from.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I more clearly understand the question. Yeah. So we're not polling. There's technology out there that could do this for us. We're involved in a different advertising style. It's a digital advertising style directly to mobile devices. That advertising will we can target specific demographics with household income and gender and age and all that kind of stuff. So we do some of that. What's really interesting is I have a client who advertises on our billboards and then also does the targeted digital to mobile in the restaurants that they're advertising in. So they are able to, hey, somebody's at the restaurant, use the restroom, they see the ad, I guarantee they're going to see it and read it. Their mobile device is there. Now, they might not open that mobile device in the restaurant, but when they get home later, they will, and they're going to see the same ad that they saw at the restaurant. That's when you combine the two, that's really, really powerful.
That's cool because then you kind of have that follow up too. And do they do anything like you put it on the billboard so you have an ad specific for when they first meet you or like first hear about you? And then when they go home, is it a different ad that kind of adds on to that, like but creating a story type thing?
It could, absolutely. Yep. So you can,
Okay.
that's another one of the great benefits about the digital billboards and then adding on some other digital advertising areas, is we can change that advertisement out. I mean, in a split second, because again, it's all digital. The screens are high definition. It's they're it can be video or static, like I said before, and we can have that ad change every time the rotation comes around, right? So the billboard holds a certain number of advertisements for a certain length of time, and every time it rotates, it could be potentially a different ad.
I like that because then you can kind of build a story, if you will. Like that's one of the things that I tell people all the time on websites is you need to take someone from point A to point B and kind of walk them through the journey because most people when they see your product, they have no idea what it is. So you need to start by telling them what it is, how it's going to benefit them, talk to their pain points and just like slowly increment through that story. I love that. I love that you can change that up so efficiently and that you can the following home is scary though.
So that technology does track the device for 90 days after the first impression. So then we have the ability to retarget that device over and over and over again. I mean, the statistics, if you look it up, it's any used to be 7 to 10 times somebody's got to see something before they really actually see it. I feel like today it's more like 12 or 15 because we all just get overloaded with images and ads and just chaos of life. so so we're able to retarget to those devices over and over and over again, and they'll see that ad 10, 15 times, whatever it is, and that really does it's powerful.
Yeah. Advertising is really interesting nowadays, especially because there's so much going on. You have to really pick out what's good. And so the other issue is people will copy offers. Do you see this a lot with you? Like, do you get clients who copy other clients or no?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Just like top of mind is there's a car wash in town that does monthly subscription, and that they've kind of brought that to our city. They're the first ones. Now you see that at almost all other car washes. So of course that kind of happens. The competition. Competition, frankly, is good for the consumer, right? It's keeping the businesses price competitive, and the consumer wins when there is more competition. So yeah, I would say there's plenty of copying or doing things similar. Yeah.
One thing that I also harp on people about is looking at people in your industry that are better than you because 9 times out of 10, they're doing something that you're not and you can learn from it. And so one of my clients is one of the best real estate agents in Stevens Point specifically. I think it's Portage County, actually. Anyways, one of the two. And it's really funny because we'll do something with him, we'll just test it. And then, like a month or two later, the other real estate agents start doing it. So it's really interesting. Like, you can learn from the people ahead of you because they're doing something you're not. And that thing is probably helping them.
Yeah, I mean, a real brief story. One of the first years, the first year we were in business, which goes back to 2019 now, I just got a call out of the blue. It was from an insurance agent. And he said, "Hey, I golf at this indoor golf simulator place, which we have screens at, and I'm there every Thursday night. And every time the advertisement comes up for my competitor in insurance, my buddies give me a hard time." So he said, "How do I get him off of there and me on there?" And he's been a client of mine ever since. He's been one of my longest standing clients.
On kind of your client side, who do you target the most? Like for when we're saying B2C, like who do you typically advertise for?
Oh, yeah. Good question. So the way that we run our network is that we do not allow competition on the billboard. So if I have an insurance agent occupying this billboard, I cannot put another insurance agent on there. That's very different. I don't know any other advertising medium that will commit to that. I mean, you open up the paper, there's a page full of advertisements of the same stuff. Look at the TV commercials, look at the billboard signs on the side of the highway, whatever it is, radio. So we commit to that, and it's paying off. I mean, we make it somewhat exclusive. So I have enough real estate agents right now. Real estate agents love to advertise. They need to. It's a very flooded, what do I want to say, profession. So I have enough. I can't take anymore. So that's kind of how I approach this. I'm like, okay, who does advertise? Who needs to advertise? Who would benefit from this type of advertisement? And frankly, services, companies like banks, for instance, or I'm thinking about like automotive repair, or just the stuff that everybody kind of needs, but there's lots and lots of options. Our billboards really help keep that brand top of mind. I'd say that's what they're the best at. Probably the second thing that they're great for would be those services. Looking for clients for cutting lawn, or I'm looking to book fall bookings for this or whatever. That also works very well. And then the third thing is events, right? So people want to advertise their upcoming stuff. We have the ability to reach the masses, and we can do it in a short amount of time or a long amount of time. Our we have found the sweet spot is about 30 days before an event to start advertising. If it's any sooner than that, like, those messages just become, oh, I already saw that, I'm not going to read it. And if it's less time, then it's like, oh, I already have plans, or, oh, next week I can't do that. So those are kind of the three main categories. But back to your original question, I look at, okay, I have two banks. I probably have room for one more in my network in this region or county. I don't have enough real estate agents in this county. So I kind of go right down the list of insurance companies, realtors, banks, lawyers, and then any services. Seasonal services are very popular too. Anything from seal coating, driveways, to lawn mowing, to house washing in the summer, and then you can imagine in the winter for us, it's snow plowing and things of that.
Okay. That makes sense. That's kind of what I suspected. I wasn't entirely sure about that. On the exclusivity thing, do you charge a premium for that or no?
Well, it's hard to say if we're charging a premium. Indoor billboards advertising is extremely, not only it's an extremely good value. So you get a lot of performance for your dollar, and we don't have any competition in our area. I don't know if we're charging a premium for it. It's just something I feel strongly about as a business owner, that feel good thing, and it's one of the things that's part of our guarantee. Not only is the content extremely high resolution and high visibility and dynamic, and we can do real-time updates, like, all those things go in our guarantee. We want to make it a little special too.
That's a really hard thing to balance too, because at what point do you just have so many people knocking on your door asking to advertise? Like, how many people do you have to say no to? That, like, I can't fathom that. Especially with the real estate agents, they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere.
I can't say that I've ever said no to business. I've always figured out a way to say yes. Because frankly, with the billboards, if there's enough desire, or demand rather, I can put more up. So that's also, I can add more inventory, just simply by putting up more billboards.
On that, how big is your area now?
So we are, if you look on our website, that was the original, still our original website, which is being updated currently. Uh, our website has a span of, all the way from the eastern side of Wisconsin to the western side, and north and south, so covering the whole state. But when we built that, it was right before the pandemic, so we didn't grow that quickly. So anyway, that's why the website says what it is. But we are in Lincoln County, Marathon County, and Portage County, in central Wisconsin. Here we've got about 120 digital billboards out in that area across 30, the high 30s, 36 or 38 different locations.
Nice. That's a lot, if I'm correct. I don't know the industry that well, but that's a lot.
Yeah, that would be, I would say that the largest company in our industry they have a few thousand screens, but there is, I would say, most of the companies in our industry have less than 100. So I feel like we're the medium to medium large size.
That's a good sweet spot, because you're a relatively lean company, correct?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, so I own the company. My wife and I own the company. We both work in it. She works in it part time, and then we have an office manager. And then from there, we have 1099 help, right? So we've got an accountant and some graphic designers. I've had business coaches, on and off throughout time, which I speak very highly of business coaches. It's a very effective way to. I always looked at it as it's the cheapest partner you can ever have, and you can fire them. So, like, that's why I really I will always always say, get a business coach, try it out. It's worth it.
Coaching's interesting.
Yeah. So back to your point. Yeah. I mean, there's 6 to 8 people that kind of make this engine run.
Okay, so I'm just kind of curious. Billboards, like setting them up, is that really expensive? But then I'm assuming day to day, it's not really.
Right. Yeah, you nailed it. These billboards, even though they're 21 inch, or 22-inch computer screens, they're very expensive. The technology that we developed for these billboards, and I can't say that I know for sure, but I've been told that we were the first and the only ones in the country using this technology, which allows us to put these billboards tight against the wall. We don't have to run power, AC, regular electricity, into the bathrooms to power them. That's what makes them so special. So yeah, they're quite expensive. I would say it probably takes us 4 or 5 months to pay one off if it's performing well, right? It's a very big, going digital in this business model is a huge, like, it's the cart before the horse, because you have to invest so much money in the billboards. You got to go install them. You got to make sure that you've got enough to make a presentation to a potential advertiser, and you can't sell a single ad until they're all up. I mean, you could, hey, we'll do a future sale, but really you need to show people what they're getting in order for them to sign up. So yeah, it was a really huge leap of faith in the beginning, and it's starting to pay off now.
That's a lot of money. That's 4 months, what, 100 plus? So that's a lot of months. I wanted to ask as well, how do you typically get, like, where do you find places to put billboards in? How do you find them?
Yeah, so that's the easy part. As I mentioned earlier, those locations that we pick, like we just say, hey, we want to be here, and the hardest part is getting the meeting with the owner or the decision maker, because the locations benefit from hosting those billboards. They can occupy space on the billboard slideshow to do internal marketing. They can choose to take our solution, our software. We developed our own software last year, and use it on a TV or a screen in their facility to market to their internal customers. Right? There's no better way or to tell your customers about you than when they're in your facility, right? And, like, tell them a reason to come back. So that's another part of our business, which is digital signage. And that's just it's separate from our billboards, but it's the same technology.
Do you pay them at all to have them up? So, like, let's say they didn't want to do the internal marketing. Do you pay them, like, I don't know, do you pay them to keep them up or no?
Yeah. So when we first started the company, they had a choice to get paid just a flat fee, annual fee. Didn't matter how many boards they had or how much advertising we sold. I would never do like a rev share percentage of sales or something. That doesn't make sense. We've got a lot of value built into the way we can help them advertise to their customers. But paying the locations didn't turn out to be a great decision in the business plan. So we've backed completely out of that, except for there's a couple of grandfather locations. But yeah, it would be. I'm not bringing on any new locations that are looking for a monetary, benefit.
I wasn't sure because I've heard that people do that, but I wanted to make sure. I wanted to segment. You developed the software. Talk to me a little bit like that process. How did that go?
Yeah, so when we started, we found it was one of the very few companies that would offer a hardware and software solution. And what we have found is there's tons of software companies out there, and there's only a few hardware companies. So when I say hardware, I mean the device, the screen, what the graphics going to display on. That's the hardware, and it's still that way today. So we have found that there's a big need for software and hardware solution together in one company. So we were tied in with somebody for the first couple of years on software. Their hardware was great. The software was not. It wasn't current. They didn't improve with time. So we were looking for a different solution, and the solutions that we found, we just weren't that thrilled about. So we auditioned or interviewed probably a dozen different digital signage software companies to find out who could meet our needs. And it turns out none of them could. And about four, maybe half of them, they were very curious to learn from us, because we are doing things that this is the future. There's only really 4 or 5 companies doing things in this country that are doing things like us. We found that there was interest from these large software companies to learn how to set their software up to attract more customers like us. So we found one developer, right? And they do have a, what do I want to say? They've got a out of the box software solution kind of a thing, but we've signed an agreement with them that they were going to help us, and we were going to help them to develop this great solution together. So we have DripMedia software. You sign in online, you go to DripMedia, it's signage.dripmedia.com, and our customers have the ability to see their dashboard with all their screens, manage their content right there. You can edit it. You can even create graphics in the software. We typically tell people, like, there's a free version of I'll just say it, of Canva that does it does great stuff, right? So just get your free thing, build some graphics, and then upload it to our software. It's very, very simple. So yeah, the little details that I think the software companies didn't connect were like, how are we going to manage this? How are we going to schedule it? Like, this isn't just like a lobby, like a bank lobby saying 0% for 60 months. Like, these are in many ways interactive, high, like I said, high resolution and high visibility screens. It's high tech. So that process, the software, developing the software, it took us like 6 or 8 months. And then when we launched, we had to update all of our computers that were running these displays. And that was quite the undertaking. But now we have worked out all of the bugs. We have tested and tested and tested and tested, and now we're about a year into our own software. So now we have the ability to resell that. So we've become a hardware and software solution, and we just rolled that out probably 3 months ago. So we are now a provider for other companies that want to do what we do. So they call DripMedia. We can basically sell them a business in a box and say, okay, here's the technology for the bathroom displays. Here's the technology for call them lobby TVs or menu boards or something, not in the bathroom, right? And here's the software. And guess what? We're doing it so we know every pain point you have, and we can show you how to do what you want to, right? Like, we can show you how to be profitable and how to set these things up. So it's less. We just eliminate the learning curve for a new.
Are you franchising it? So are you doing like Drip Media in whatever, or are you just kind of are you selling it out of the box, like you build your own company from ground up with?
Yeah, so I would go either way. Currently, I have four companies, and basically our agreement with them is, hey, you're going to help us by taking on our products, helping us to write the future, right? I don't know what the franchise chapter looks like for us, but I would absolutely entertain the idea of you know offsetting maybe some of the cost for a company if they're going to use our brand, right? So if they're going to go under Drip Media and be in a different area, absolutely. So that's definitely on the table right now. We're kind of writing that chapter. We're writing that. I don't have all the details. In a way, I have franchisees, but they're using their own brands. They're using their own identity.
How do you charge for that? Do you do month for month, percentage of revenue? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So our software, and I would say I haven't seen it done any other way. Our software is billed by the license. So if you have a device or a screen, that's one license. So you need a license per screen you want to control, and we charge monthly for that. And we can, do discounts based.
How much is it per screen then?
So it's if we're selling this retail, like just to my local customers, like they're paying $20 a month for one screen. We bill it annually, and that gives them full access to the software. We have found a couple of companies that are a little bit less than that. They don't have the experience that we do, and most companies are a bit more than. So we're very competitive.
That's a good price too.
Yeah, and if we're
It's a really good price.
thank you, yeah, thanks. It just makes it easy. I mean, like, okay, $20 a month, right? That it can go down from there based on volume, right? So if you've got 10 screens, okay, there's a discount. If you got 50, if you got 100, we can do discounts. Now, when people are buying the I have the four, like I said, the four companies that are buying from us and then building their own business with our technology. Of course, there's some like wholesale discounting that happens so that they can even resell the product if they want to.
Interesting idea here. Have you ever thought about renting a screen? So doing something like the software comes pre-installed, we'll do the screen or whatever, but we charge a premium to recoup the cost of the screen. Because that would be a really good way for companies to start building out as well at a lower cost.
Right.
So it'd be a lower startup cost, but it would be higher percentage of revenue.
I have, I guess, proposed a few leasing options, and we did that at the beginning. It's just frankly a huge financial burden on us at the beginning for a startup. We were a startup too. It's like, okay, we're gonna lay out $3,000, right, and then we're gonna collect $50 a month or whatever it is. So that was difficult at the beginning. So absolutely, we would entertain those ideas to help people get set up. Finding the right. I think we have found the right banking partner to also help facilitate some of that stuff.
Sounds like you're going really well with the software. That seems to be a really high leverage tool as well, because you do essentially no work.
Right, and that's the idea. Like you say, okay, well, $20 is a great price. It is a great price, and if I only have 10 or 20 screens, that's not a lot of money. But over time, if we keep growing at 10 or 20 a month, eventually we're going to have 500 or 600 screens, right? So then you can that really starts to add up quickly and be a really nice revenue stream.
It's the same idea with websites, right? Because we do the internal hosting. That does two things for us. Allows us to pay for softwares in bulk. Two, we can charge less. So, for example, if we pay for like $70 per website worth of software, we can charge 65, so it's $5 less. But then because we're paying for it in bulk, we make 15 on top of it. And that at scale isn't nothing. Like currently we're hosting, I think just shy of 110 websites. So we'll just say simple, we're doing the 15 like we said. That's 1,500 a month. And all we're doing is hosting it, updating, and making sure they're not getting hacked. So it's a really high leverage tool, but the problem is scale. And you have that avenue as well of there's no competition, so scale shouldn't be too terribly difficult.
Right, right. Yeah, it's for us, the scale is just it's the financial part, right? I mean, like it takes a bit of money to get things like this off the ground, and we're importing now our own devices, our own hardware. So I didn't mention that earlier. Not only did we develop our own software, but I'm working with two different factories, but the primary one, I've got 3 different prototypes for screens. I've got an order that's being shipped overseas here in hopefully about 8 or 12 weeks. So we have that solution as well. Yeah. So that's really because of these other 4 companies that are buying from us are helping us with our buying power, right? So they want to buy from us, so that we can place larger orders, get bigger discounts, and we pass those discounts along.
That's really good because then you essentially own full service then instead of having to outsource little bits here and there. The last kind of thing that I wanted to touch on with you, you have a family owned business. What are the struggles with that? What are the upsides?
Well, I'll say that the reason why we started DripMedia, the primary driving force, was to be, for one, closer to family, and for two, to never miss a field trip, like to never miss a game. Other business owners might say, "Wow, that's a fantasy. I'm glued to my business. I don't have time for my family. I work so much." We've made it very, very, very clear from the beginning that family's first. And I've been a manager for large staff, for large companies, and responsible for their schedules and ultimately responsible for their families and their paycheck and everything else. And I've always said to every single employee I've had is families first. And I feel like that it's just the most important thing. I mean, your real job starts when you get home from work. That's your real job, in my opinion. The family, it couldn't be more important to me and to my wife. So we we have twin boys that are going to be 7 in a few weeks. So we were living 180 miles away from where I grew up, and we were kind of all on our own down there. And like, oh my gosh, we got twin boys. We were both working full time plus with like crazy hours, and didn't really have any help. So yeah, family was so important that we developed a business plan to move closer to Nana and Papa so we could have some family babysitters and raise our kids along with our siblings' kids or our nieces and nephews. So it's I guess, the most precious thing to me is the ability to uh, use my schedule the way that I see fit to fit into my family. As an example, today is a perfect example. My son, had a chiropractic appointment at 8. Well, Otto, the other son, he woke up this morning at 6:30 with a sore throat. He's sick. He's got a fever. Right. So he's home. I'm home. I came home today. My wife is working from home so that we can juggle the kid and being sick and meet his needs. Plus, here I am talking to you, doing an interview at the kitchen table, and fitting this in too. Now, yeah, do I have to probably catch up on some work later? Yeah, but you know what? There's time after the kids go to bed to answer that one or two emails that you wanted to get done. So those are all the great things. That's why we do this, is to spend more time as a family. On the other side of the coin, we're ultimately like, I'm writing my own destiny. I don't have anybody to blame if something goes sideways, right? And so, yeah, there's a certain level of stress that goes along with owning your own business, and I'm sure you feel that too, Andrew. But I think the good outweighs the bad, right? And family business, another like super, I feel like we're the minority, because if you ask a lot of business owners, they're like, we can't stop working, we just always work, we're tied to business. We always step away. Like I said earlier, we keep our weekends and our nights are sacred. I have my cell phone on me, like if somebody texts me or emails me, yeah, I'll see it and I'll reply to it. So yeah, I'm always on. But but family time is family time. So my wife and I, when we're working together, we work in a very small office. Our desks are right next to each other. I've talked to a lot of married people or other business owners that are couples that are like, man, how do you do it? That must be crazy, like spending so much time with somebody. But we're fortunate enough that we're like yin and yang. I mean, she's so much better at so many things that I'm not, right? And I have my strong suit, and she has her strong suit, and we're very different. So it just works. It just really really works for us. And when we can get some synergy going with other business owners that happen to be family owned business, those are our favorite clients, right? So we have so much in common with those clients. We understand each other. We help each other. So that's our favorite client. That medium sized family business. We just, like I said, we just see eye to eye. We get each other.
Yeah, family businesses definitely have a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages, especially if it's someone who you mesh well with, but you disagree on like something like financials or marketing. Like a little disagreement can turn into a big disagreement, right? Because you're so close to it.
I have some friends. I have a couple of friends who have, the one guy described it as a family tree with broken branches over business decisions, and that's really sad to hear. But it's more than one person. That another good friend, yet hasn't didn't talk to his brother for 3 years or something because they were in business together. And it's hard to be in business with friends and family, and it works for a lot of people, and it doesn't work for a lot of people.
Are you familiar with Alex and Layla Harmozy
No. What do they
at
do?
all? Long story is that Alex owned Gym Launch, which helps gyms. I think Layla built it with him. I don't remember. Anyways, those two built a business together. They sold it, and now they built effectively a private equity firm, and they're building it together. And one of the things that they were talking about was that they work completely separately, but they do different things in the business because they complement each other, and they come together at night, and it's almost bonding instead of tearing each other apart, because they each have their respective things and they can just do it and then talk about it. So it's bringing them together instead of forcing them apart. which it seems to be closer to what you're saying, where your wife is very good at certain things and you're very good at other things, and then you can work together on it. The only thing is you two are in the same office.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And when people ask me that question about working with my spouse, I usually say it's awesome because now I get to see her once in a while, right? Because when you're not working, it's just kid schedules and this and that, and yeah, it's family time, but you don't really see just each other. So that's I think why it worked really well for us because or works really well for us. And the part-time thing is good, and I'm out selling, so she's in the office, she's doing the office work, so it's however we figured it out, it's working.
Yeah. And I mean, business is held together typically with duct tape and maybe Gorilla Glue if you're lucky.
Yeah, that's true. That's how it works.
So I don't really have anything else for you. So where can people find you? Let's say they want to put a billboard up. Where do you want people to message you? How? Just, what do you want to plug? Go ham.
Yeah, so I said earlier our website is a bit outdated, but there is a phone number on there. However, the easiest and best way is to either text, call, or email me directly, and it's just Brandon@DripMedia.com. And my cell phone number is 715-581-3747. That's 581-DRIP, 715-581-3747. And Brandon at Drip Media. So you'd be contacting me if you'd like to, see your business in front of a whole bunch of potential clients to the masses for a very good value. Uh, or you'd contact me if you would like a digital sign, we'll say in your business to market to your internal clients. So that would be a lobby TV I was at a barber shop today. I actually got my hair cut and they've got a TV behind the counter. We're going to hook them up with some digital signage so they can play their menu and promote specials and upcoming things. So that's another reason to contact me. And then if you're a venue that might want to host some billboards or learn more about how we can partner, that would be another way or another way that we could do business together. And again, Drip Media, Brandon at Drip Media is the email, and the phone number is 715-581-3747.
Perfect. And I'll have all of that in the description for everyone. Thank you.